Okay. What happened? Okay, good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas of today, we're holding Pasha Shmini, we're holding on the Leviticus chapter 10, verse number 12. Vaidab Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to Aaron, Eliezer, and to Eleazar, really Summer, and to his son, one of Hanasadim, his leftover children, those that were left over from this terrible tragedy. Who is a mincha? Take the meal offering, and it said is Misha Hashem was left over from the fire of God. We flew matzahs, ate them and eat it as unleavened loaves besides the altar. It's Kodesh Kadashim because it's holy of holies. Ashi says, interesting expression, they sudden those that were left. Melamed, this teaches us Aaron's son who survived death. Here, since the verse alludes the fact that Eliezer and Summer survived death, it must mean that death was penalty was that a death which the penalty themselves had occurred. This teaches us that because of the sin of the golden calf, the death penalty had been imposed upon them too. There was a gezeda upon all the sons of Aaron. But they survived. This is the meaning of, and with Aaron, the Lord was furious to destroy him, lahashmidai. The term hashmad, the destruction in Torah, always denotes the concept of the death of children. As it says, but I destroyed Ashmid, his fruits from above, referring to his children. Moshe Prater, however, affected the nullification of half of this decree, resulting in the survival of Eliezer and his son. Was said, and I prayed also for Aaron at that time, later on in Deuteronomy. The word also includes Aaron's 4 sons. And Moshe Rabbeinu prayed that this decree on Aaron should not be affected, and it saved 2 of his sons. He said, even though you're owning them, you're mourners. They were mourners. They lost. Aaron lost a son, 2 sons. They lost a brother. So this mourners of a close relative on the day of relative demise, and the holy sacrifice are forbidden for an oinen. An oinen is a person who is in the day of passing. If a loved one's day of passing, you're part of mitzvahs. You're not obligated in doing commandments in the Torah. That's a separate law. But over here, they weren't allowed to eat officially. If in the future, if a would pass, if a kohen lost his mother, or father, or brother, he wasn't allowed to do the service. But here, he said, you have no choice. The meal offering, the day of Vestra, day that the Shmini, and the meal offering of Nachshon ben Aminadav, the leader of the tribe of Yehuda, because that was a day, Chodesh Nisan, which is starting next week, which just will be Shmini, was Chodesh Nisan. We say the Nasi. So the first day of Nisan, Nachshon ben Aminadav brought his sacrifice. So there were 2 minchas. There was the mincha of the day that the kohen brought himself for the day, and there was the mincha of Nachshon ben Aminadav. So he said you have to eat that mincha. V'achlu matzahs. We know that the mincha is matzahs. We already know that the meal offering was eaten on leaven. What does this Torah tell us over here? Since this was the communal meal offering, there was a special meal offering brought exclusively at that time. There's nothing like in the future generations. Torah found in Nestle specify the law of the meal offering of the time of the Yom HaShmini, day of the inauguration of the temple, to teach us those laws apply to also this meal offering, which was done once in history. Verse number 13, eat in the holy place, because it's your portion, to the portion of your children, it is, Mishi Hashem, from the offering of God. He came to Vesi because that's the way I commanded it. So now she says, in general, there's no law. It's banecha. So the daughters is not obligated to eat the korban mincha. Means the girls of Kahana, girl Kahana are not obligated to do that. But boys are. You came to Vesi because I commanded you to eat it. Even though you're owning him, you might think you're not allowed to eat it. There's going to come a problem later in the law. They're going to get an argument over here soon. But you have to eat it. You're obligated to eat this mincha, this meal offering. Verse 14, and also the breast of waving, the sheikha truma, the thigh of raising up. The flu, you have to eat it. B'makim kodesh, in a holy place in the base of Mikdash. Ato v'necha, you and your sons. Uvnei secha, over here it says the daughters. Itach with you. Because this is the law to you and to your sons. Nitnu, there was given these parts of the animal were given to you and your sons from the Shalmi Bnei Yisrael, from these offerings. Now she says, the Shalmi is from the communal offerings. Now, did they eat the previous sacrifices in unclean places? Every sacrifice needs to be eaten in a clean place. And the previous sacrifices were holy of holies, kachin. And as such, they were required to eat in the holy places. It was obligated. These, however, were not required to be eaten in the courtyard. Notwithstanding, they were still to be eaten within the camp of Israel, which is clean. So far, those who were afflicted with teras could not enter therein. From here, then, we learn that the law that the sacrifice with less degree of holiness, kachikalim, may be eaten anywhere in the city of Jerusalem. And these specific communal offerings had to stay kachikalim, even though communal peace offerings are usually kachikadash. So that's what he's telling us. Even though that they were not in the same degree as the previous offering, nevertheless, they still had a concept of holiness, and they weren't allowed to be eaten anywhere. That's why over here, it tells us that the girls are allowed to eat of the korban shlamim. You, your sons, have a portion. The daughters, however, do not have a portion yet. If you give them, it's a gift. They're permitted to eat from the breast and the thigh. Girls are allowed to eat. They're not allowed to eat for the mincha, but they're allowed to eat from the animal. How do we know this? Perhaps the verse means that the daughters also receive a portion. They're obligated to eat it. If the Torah states, as for your portion and your son's portion, they are given. It's given as a portion to the son, but not as a portion. It's not an obligation for the girls to eat, the daughters of Aaron or the daughters of any kohen to eat from the korban. If they wanted, they can have part of the korban, but they're not obligated. A kohen that does the service obligated in the korban. He's not leaving nice. He's not even leaving leftovers. He's obligated to eat part of the korban. Verse 15. They shall bring a hot thigh of raising and the breast of waving, Alisha Chalavim, upon the fats of the fire offering. To bring as a waving before God. Again, Taylor repeats that Rashi mentioned this. It shall be to you and to your sons that are with you, for an everlasting law, Kashetziva Hashem like Alas Kedam. As he says, Sheikh Atruma V'chaze Atnufa, thigh of raising and the breast of waving. These words are related to the expression which was wave and which was lifted. Nufa, waving, is performed by forward and backward motion, and Truma, lifting, is performed by upward and downward motion. Why did the Torah separate them, using lifting referring to thigh and waving referring to breast? We did not know, because both of them were lifted and waved. So now she says, I don't know why the Torah separates these two things between the thigh and the breast when they were both the same. Alisha Chalav. Chalav, this phrase you read equivalent to meaning upon the fats for the fire offering. From here we learned the fats were placed underneath the breast and thigh portion at the time of waving. Now, earlier in the verse, it says both state that the sacrifice fats were placed on top of the breast of the thigh portion, thus seemingly contradicting our verse here, which says they shall bring it the thigh and the breast upon the fats. So how do you do it? This guy, so we learned this already. Says, however, I've already explained the resolution of these three verses, so they did not contradict each other. Basically, it was flipped over. So at a certain time, the fats was on the top, and then at a certain time, the fats was on the bottom. So when he lifted it, the fats were on top. And then when he threw it onto the Mizbeach, the fats were on the bottom. And that's how Rashi answered this before. And that completes the Chumash for today. Go now to Tanya of the day. Alter Rebbe is explaining the concept of Seder Shtalshlus, the concept of the descent of light. And when the Torah talks about a tzimtzum, the concept of tzimtzum and hester, the concept of contraction, aspect of hiddenness, is self-understood for the thing as it goes from level to level. So the Alter Rebbe says in the physical body, of living creatures and in absolute inanimate beings, such as kavonim va'afar, like stones or earth, in which no life force, no life or spiritual are apparent, since they lack even the power of growth of stone and earth. The ray of the divine creative power is in a state of unparalleled tzimtzum. There's no parallel to that, right? Because that's the lowest. Stone is something mamish, you cannot see any growth in it. You cannot see any life in it. It's the most inanimate object. And the minimum life force which was in inanimate beings, is so diminished that he doesn't have even the power of growth. You don't see the capability for the stone to grow. It's a me'ach, and then you go into vegetation. With the four levels, as the Alter Rebbe said before, he's going to say it now again. There's four levels. Doiming, inanimate objects. Semeach, vegetation. Kai, living. Medaber, people speaking. So in the vegetation, the ray is not greatly contracted. You can see the beauty of life. In Semeach, you see life. The phenomenon of growth indicates the presence of something more than mere physical matter. You see, wow, look at this. As Alter Rebbe explained, from a little kernel, we have an unbelievable tree. And we see in the tree grows, and then you see there's fruits from the tree and flowers and leaves, etc. So you see life. Actually, go to spring, not flowers so much, but around the world, you see the tree was dead, and now you see the tree that's starting to blossom. The trees are starting to blossom. It's beautiful, like a new beginning. You would think that the tree is a piece of stone. And then you see actually the tree is alive. So you see there's a life force behind the tree. There's more than just a tree. Some degree of spiritual is evidence. There's something spiritual. There's some energy in the tree. The cloud in general, all things of this world, the chalek is divided. The madregas is divided in 4 categories. Doimim, inanimate, say meach, vegetable, chai, animal, medaber, speakers, humans. Neged, what are they comparing spirituality? What are they can respond? That was they say Shemavaya. They can respond to the 4 letters of the divine name. From which they derive. Each of these categories derive its vitality from one of the 4 letters of God's name. Just as the illumination and the flow of vitality found in the minerals and in vegetables categories bears no comparison to the likeness of the illumination that flows to the vitality clothes an animal and man, right? Because an animal, you see even greater growth. An animal, you see that not only they grow, they become bigger, they can have a relationship. When they have children, we see even a greater extent, and they can travel, etc., etc. So it's a meach, a tree stays in one place, doesn't move. An animal moves, and it goes, and it's a living thing. Look at how this thing is alive. It's walking around. So we see a greater extent of life in the animal, and of even a greater extent of life in a human being. And even though ultimately, what is the common denominator of all these 4 levels is that the life force is hidden. That's the common denominator. Just like you don't see the life force in a rock in a certain way, you don't see the life force in yourself. The divine animated light is the same terms as the concealment of the contents of God. Meaning in all 4 categories, the inner aspect of the divine light is concealed equally. In all 4 categories, the light is clothed in the same garment, namely the garment, veil of Nega. Hence, in none of these 4 categories, there's apparent the vitality is actually godliness. That's the difference. There's no difference, in this aspect. In the concept of that God is hidden in us. God is hidden in me, like it's hidden in the rock. So God is more hidden in the rock and is less hidden in me. But ultimately, God is hidden in me, like he's hidden in the rock. And it's all one garment. What's the garment? In Kabbalah, what is the garment? Klippas Nega. The garment is a garment that shines. Because ultimately, I can use the rock for something good. I can create a table. I can learn on it. So ultimately, I can use the tree for something good. I can create a chair. I can sit on it to be able to learn on it, on my table. And so to the vegetables, everything that it has that is in this world is created from this klippa, from this covering, because everything's a covering. Everything has something hidden. So everything is created from a hidden energy. So the veil of Noiga, hence none of these categories is apparent that the vitality is actual godliness. Yet despite this equality, nevertheless, even though we are all equal in one way, that we're all hidden from God, the vitality that animates beings of plants is incompatible to animal and man. But ultimately, we understand that even though the light within me, the energy of God within me is the same as the rock, but it's not totally the same because the rock is inanimate and I'm not inanimate. I'm a human being, and I'm a medaber. I can speak. That's the way the expression of humanity in this 4 categories is humans are medaber. They have the capability of communication through verbal communication, through speech of godliness. I can speak in Hebrew. I can speak in Lashon Kodesh. I can speak in the godly language. And so if you understand that, you understand. We all could comprehend this concept. that there is a concept that everything is hidden. I know myself. Like I don't see the godliness in me, but I know that I'm not a rock. I'm not a stone. I'm an inanimate object. I'm not a vegetable. I'm not even an animal. I'm a human being. And therefore, hopefully, and therefore, since I know that I have different capabilities, in a way, that's why it says you created first and last, because Yutaka can be greater than everything. And if you don't do because everything does their mission. An animal does its mission. It doesn't change its mission. A vegetable that knows its mission, and a rock also knows its mission. The human being was given that free choice, that it can basically to go against its mission. So that's where I can be less than an animal. I can be lower than the rock. So it's in the one of Yom Yom, the Rebbe writes, the rock, when you walk on the earth is saying, who gives you the right to walk on me? The only reason why you have the right to walk on me, I'm an inanimate object, is because you can sit in the Torah. You can say words of Torah. So therefore, the Rebbe writes, every person should know some Torah by heart. So when he walks in the street, he should think words of Torah. Because really the truth is, who gave the human the right to walk on earth? The right is because you have the capability to use this earth that I'm walking on for the sake of my walking to go do a mitzvah, my walking to learn Torah. But the truth is, I can only comprehend that if I understand that there's a difference between the earth and me. That's not that maybe there's a difference. There is a big difference, and I have a different mission in this world than the earth. My mission is to use the earth. The earth was created for me to use. The vegetable was created for me to elevate. That was the whole purpose. The purpose was that I should come down and reveal this klippas noiga, to break through the klippa, the covering that hides it, and reveal its true mission. So what's the mission of the earth? I should walk upon it. Why do I need to walk upon it? Because I get the soul. And therefore, I'm walking on it. Or I need to go help another Jew. Or I need to go learn Torah. That's why I'm using this out. Why am I need to have strength to do some good deeds? But I'm revealing, I'm taking off the veil. I'm revealing its true essence. I'm revealing its purpose. So really the earth and vegetation and animals are all waiting for man to do it, because it couldn't do it itself. It needs man to reveal its shine, its holiness. So that's what a person has to realize. And he has to come to the realization that he has a greater mission. Because everything in the world, that's what it says, every person has to say, Bishvili Nivra Elam. The whole world was created for me. And that's true, because the whole world, everything that I come in contact with in the world is waiting. What am I going to do with it? What will I do with it? Will I do this cup of water if I take? What will I do this water that was created from the six Sheshim Bereshis is waiting? What am I going to do with this? With it? I'm going to make a brach on it. I'm going to reveal its godliness or not. If I just drink it, don't make the blessing. Then I drunk it. That's it. Now it has to wait for somebody else. It has to go through the system and wait for somebody else to elevate it. And so through everything in the world. So therefore, if you comprehend this, so similarly, there's no comparison. If you understand this concept, even though everything comes from God and everything is hidden from God, it comes from God, and at the same moment, it's hidden from God. Its godliness is hidden. That's a better word, not hidden from God. Its godliness is hidden. So at the same moment, there's no likeness between illumination that flows from the blessed inner safe to the inner aspect of his will, without concealment and contest and with no garments whatsoever. So now we can understand when something goes to the Nox and Havaya, when something is done because of the will of God, so there's no veil. So now I unveil it. So when I do something totally for the will of the Eibishter. I'm doing this mitzvah, taking this physical thing, and I'm doing it. I take myself, and I'm doing it for the Shem Shemayim. I'm doing it for the will of God. I have now unveiled it. I brought out its light. Whether I see the light or not, it's not important. I mean, it's important. What way from Mashiach? But right now, I have unveiled its true purpose. I unveiled the rocks of the Eibishter, why the Eibishter created it. So there's no comparison doing something for the sake of God and doing something for no sake at all. Because at the moment I do something for the sake of God, I bring down its purpose. I unveil its purpose. That's what it's called, klippas noiga. A cover that shines. I take off the cover. It was created, the cover that should shine. The whole purpose of the cover is that I should come down and bring down its shine and bring out its light. That was the whole purpose. So Abraham created this whole physical world to look like a physical entity, because I am a physical person, that I should come unveil its physicality. What means unveiling the physicality? Using it out, the purpose of the physicality, showing myself that this physical thing was created to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what it was created for. That was its purpose. Because that, the light of God, that is clothed in the action of mitzvahs. And so too, I can speak words of Torah, and I can speak words of Dvarim Teilim, regular words. What's the difference? They're both words. They're both hidden. But one is a mitzvah. Words of Torah is a mitzvah. Now revealed the whole purpose of why I speak. That's why in these four categories, the fourth category is medaber. Why are you speaking? That's why you learn later on in the Torah. Torah says, watch your speech. Why? Because the whole purpose of a medaber is you speak words of Torah. You speak words of pleasantness. That you speak words of happiness. That you express yourself in a positive way. Then you reveal why the Eibishter made you a person that speaks. God made me a person that speaks so I can be able to express my godly soul through speech. And if I speak in a negative way, I'm now revealing my animalistics. So what do you want to reveal? Do I want to reveal my godly soul, which is my real essence? Or I want to reveal my animalistic soul, which is something that's going to create more hiddenness of my essence, of who I really am. Through nechshek and ma'aseh mamish, as we learned, that an action, speech is like an action. Speech, like we learned, mavas v'chaim, yad haloshon. Life and death is in the hands of the speech of your tongue. Illumination of the Eidin Seif, the in Dibur, and ultimately in action. No comparison. There's no comparison. We can understand that there's no comparison between speech and action. Because action is ultimately a physical thing. So I can speak about giving tzedakah, which is wonderful. And this brings out my true light in God in the aspect of my speech. But then I give the tzedakah. When I give the tzedakah, I've now taken all the powers of my physical body, my hands and my feet and my body and my thought, and I took this money, physical, and I gave it to somebody else. So now this physical acher became a part of this mitzvah. The kavanas a mitzvah. I'm sorry. The Gabi Adam Shachar became mitzvah through Knech Kemais and Mamish. The Gabi Adam Shachar said, I'm sorry. So no comparison. Action, the speech, the thought. That in myself, action is a greater revelation of godliness. Speech is another level of revelation, and thought is another level of a revelation. But in a human being, you can see my action. You can also hear my speech, but you cannot hear my kavanah. You don't know my thoughts. Meaning that one's intention to attach himself by God, fulfilling his will, as expressed in the mitzvah, sincere and his will is one. So there's no comparison. We all can see, we all can comprehend the concept of revelation. We all can comprehend the aspect of revealing something, even in our mind, that we can reveal in our mind that our mind is infused with kavanah in a positive way. That's the three speed. That's the three levushim. That's the three garments: thought, speech, and action. So still, we can comprehend that there's no comparison between thought, speech, and action. Revelation of godliness is greater one from the other, even though they're still all hidden. Whether it's in thought, speech, and action, there's still not a total revelation of godliness in it. So too in regard to kavanah, the thought and prayer, with Krishma, and the reciting of the Shema, and its blessing, the Shema brachos, and all other blessings. That when a person has kavanah, and he doesn't just do the bracha, he doesn't just say the Krishma, he also has kavanah. Self-understood that when he has kavanah, even though in his kavanah, in his thought, what's going to be revealed is still hidden, but it's concept of revelation in the concept of thought. And you need to have revelation. You need to have to take off the garment, the hiddenness in your brain, to reveal in your brain that your brain becomes, your thought becomes a vessel for the concept of the Eir Hashem. Because that's the way he attaches his thought and his intellect with HaKadosh Baruch. So we need to all realize that even though we understand the difference between thought, speech, and action in our lives, and each and every one of them connects to God in its level, they're all have one common denominator, self-understood, that they're all hidden, all the levels that we mentioned are all hidden from God. But nevertheless, we understand that there are greater revelations and there are lesser revelations, just like there's greater revelations in the stone and there's lesser revelations there's greater revelations in the human and there's lesser revelations in the animal and the vegetation and ultimately in the rock. So too, there might be greater revelations maybe in me. There's greater revelations in my thought than in my speech, than in my act. And it might be actually the opposite. That's greater revelations from above in my act, to my speech, and in my thought. There are different levels of God's revelations in each one of these processes, in each one of these levels. And therefore, what we're trying to really bring out over here is that self-understood, I cannot let one of these levels go. I need to have all three categories. I need machshava, I need dibur, I need maisa. One of them, I cannot say that I only should do machshava. I shouldn't do dibur and maisa. I need dibur and maisa. I shouldn't think that I only should do dibur and maisa. I don't need machshava. I need all of them. So too, in the creation of the world, when I say b'shvili nivra olam, I need all of them. I need doimim tzemeach chaim medaber. As a human being, I need to affect all four levels, all four different things in the world, from the inanimate objects, the animate objects, to living objects, to myself, to humans in general. We need to have the revelation of God in all four things, and I understand that nevertheless, that its revelation and its purpose is going to be different in all these four categories. And the common denominator of all these four categories is that they are all at this present time hidden from the face of God. I cannot see the true essence of the godly revelation in all four levels, like I cannot see the godly revelation ultimately in three levels, three garments of my personal self-being, and machshava, and my dibur, and my maisa. And that completes the Tanya of the day. Today is the 24th day of the month. It's chapter 113 to chapter 118. You do those chapters, Tilim, you would do the Chitas of the day. Wish you a beautiful day, a very happy day, a healthy day. And I'll see you in Mikshamo tomorrow. Continue the Chitas of the day at 8 a.m. Have a wonderful and beautiful.
You too, Rabbi. Thank you very much.